Hi, Esquire UK, I'm Skepta, and these are the people who inspire me. A voice from my childhood, I have to say my mum. I'd have to say, like, the voice of my childhood is my mum's voice. If I think about her voice, it's like very outspoken, it's cutthroat, and it's very to the point. Very proverbial as well. Like, my Nigerians in general, I feel like we speak in proverbs. Everything's a big proverb in it. A lot of sense is made when you hear things said in proverbs in it. So my mum, when I think about things in my mum's voice, it puts context to it and it allows me to see it from like a proverbial point of view and see the poetry and a lot of stuff. To laugh when I think about my mum, man, because she's just such a queen, man. I think, like, you know, like being a boy, like, it's very easy to like attribute a lot of your DNA to your pops, innit? Like, you always feel, oh yeah, I'm like this because my dad was like this and my dad done that. But growing up and I'm realizing that a lot of my traits are from my mum. I would say the main one is just being outspoken. I think it's funny, like, sometimes it could be a bit cringy sometimes being with my mum in certain spaces and she's like so outspoken, like she just says how she feels, but I feel like, yeah, like I said, it's taken a bit of time for me to see that I'm exactly the same. Damn. Being a man in 2026. I've learned a lot, like, because I'm a soul searcher, so I've learned a lot. I think being a man, not a boy, being a man is understanding. When you're young, you're able to get away with the fact that you didn't understand and you did wrong. And I think like being a man, you don't get to use that as a get out card. So understanding is gonna get you far in this life. I feel like things are gonna happen instead of like lashing out or flipping out, crashing out. Learn to understand, overstand the situation. I think you're able to make better decisions when you understand, rather than taking everything so personal. That's how we could be better, understanding. The first person that I thought that made me want to be great in music, there's a lot of people. Definitely Tupac, Biggie, but more like apparent, I'd have to say, like, it's someone like Dizzy Rascal. Even with him being younger than me, I feel like when Boy in the Corner album came out, it was the first time I'd seen somebody turn what we were doing on pirate radio in random buildings, and someone turned that into an album and into a tour and into a career and into chart positions and stuff like that. I feel like Dizzy Rascal was the one. A big turning point for me in my career was when I made That's Not Me. We'd been doing it on pirate radio for years, regional shows up and down the country, Prague, Amsterdam, Berlin. We traveled a lot. But everything, I feel like everybody felt like they wanted more, which was why that little pop season happened. There was like a pop season of like UK artists making pop music, and I feel like that was because people just felt bigger, you know. Everywhere we traveled, people knew us, took pictures of us and stuff, but we just probably never felt that as big as, you know, our contemporaries at the time. So everyone just tried to make pop radio music to be on the radio. And after a while, I felt a bit uncomfortable with that, and I made Blacklisted mixtape, which was a big turning point. And then That's Not Me that was the stamp. I think everybody in the UK was fully understanding of what the mission was at that time, and just make our sounding music. So I would definitely say Blacklisted, but more like That's Not Me. It made me up my game. I want to say Heartless Crew, I want to say Bushkin, Mighty Mo, especially Fonty, because at the time I wasn't MCing, I was DJing. So garage music was a sound that I would hear on the radio and like just think whatever. But I feel like the way Fonty, Heartless Crew presented it, the reloads, the Crisp Biscuits, all the different styles that they had added, the dancehall element that they had to it. It really like, it made me feel that, yeah, okay, cool, I want to be on pirate radio and, you know, present the music as well. I've got my own style of presenting music, and I think that without Heartless Crew, I don't think I'd want to ever have gone onto the radio and stuff like that. I fell in love with fashion outside a club that I couldn't get into repeatedly. There's something in like being young, sitting in the car outside the club and watching people in the queue just go into the club, you know, wearing what, from what I can remember, is like Moschino, Iceberg, this kind of stuff. Almost like having the money to get into the club wasn't enough. Like, you needed the clothes, you needed to look the part. So my entry into fashion is definitely like Franco Moschino. That 90s Moschino is like embedded. A lot of that DNA is in my brand in mains when I'm designing. It's just like, I love the tongue-in-cheek anti-establishment that Moschino gave, and then when you finally get towards the clothes, like everything's cut really nice. It's not like just, you know, it's done really well in the end. I'd have to say Moschino, Franco Moschino was my entry into like fashion. Oh, when I was a kid, man, it was just outside Eros. Everybody, if you're from North London, you know Eros, like that was the club, man. And like I used to sit in that car park for hours, you know, just like watching people just dressed up to the nines. Like, remember back in the day, people would actually really get dressed up to go out. I mean, it's still like that in some places in the UK, but London, especially for me, I feel like people just are trying to get into the club in their streetwear clothes, like their trainers in it. Before you had to wear, I used to wear my dad's shoes. I used to wear my dad's work shoes to the club to get in, try and get in. But yeah, Eros. Honourable mention to Rudolph's, but I feel like if you're North Londoner, you know about Eros. In fashion, I just believe there's like, I feel like right in the middle, there's a space for someone who is connected to the streetwear side of fashion, but at the same time appreciates a good cut, appreciates a good, some good tailoring, or, you know, and then brand-wise, I want mains to really like represent a forgotten London, a forgotten UK, which is rave culture. You know, clubs are being closed down weekly now all over London, and I think British culture is rave culture. It is all of us meeting each other in the club from different cultures, different walks of life, and respecting each other. And I find that, you know, when I travel the world, this is my USP. It's the fact that I can go to these different countries and I'm not like trying to colonize. I'm trying to integrate. I'm trying to appreciate and love the culture of the place that I'm going to, and it's because I've been in my class at school. I've had loads of different, you know, cultures in my class, loads of different cultures in the rave. Yeah, I think it's important that we keep the UK raves alive. A lot of people ask me questions like about how now I'm a dad, like how, you know, different questions about that, but I feel like I've just been like an old man from before, innit? I've always been someone like taking care of people. I sort of fall into that like big brother role in most peer groups that I get into because I'm the oldest in my family and I'm just naturally a carer and like a giver. So I can't say it's changed much. I can't say my role models have changed either. Like I really admire like my dad with like not even half of what, you know, we live with today. He's took care of 4 children. So I admire that a lot. I admire him, you know, coming from Nigeria at such a young age, finding a job, finding a wife, getting married, you know, having children. They're, you know, touch wood and God, like they're still together now, you know. So I really admire that about my dad, and I try to do the same. Like I try to put my family and my friends like before what I do, and everything that, all the fruits of my labor is kind of just poured back into my family and friends. So nothing's really changed that much, man. I'm just old man Skep. I want my kids to like understand that, like, even though it may seem that a lot of the stuff that is around me comes from working and success and monetary and consumerism and all this other stuff, that this world that I'm living in, but I really want my kids to understand that, like, relationships and treating people with respect, no matter what culture they're from or walks of life, you know what I mean? I feel like my understanding of people is why I'm me. I don't want my kids to think that this is like this like Skepta thing, like this is whatever I would have named myself, I would have been this person in it, because this it comes from, it's like an internal understanding, a sort of dissociation that I have being Nigerian, growing up and learning that, you know, all my friends come from their own cultures. They're just like me, like their parents are these like purist people, and they make you and we're not as ignorant as the older generation, innit? So I want my kids to understand, just don't be ignorant and respect people, and that's what the success is. When I think about the people who inspire me, the first person who comes to mind has to be my dad. I think he set the foundation, and he was being a DJ, being as creative as he was, he's sort of a catalyst for everything that I'm into now. I think my dad inspires me in a way of, like, he's very much into music, and no matter what he was going through or how hard life was at the time, he always just carried on, like, dancing. And I think it took for me to get to a certain age to know everything, the ins and outs of how hard it was for him, because I didn't really know. Because at the time he just looked over the moon, dancing to music all the time. My dad's the kind of guy, he would get like a new job, start Monday, and that following Friday he would have everybody from his workplace at the house dancing and eating food and just enjoying themselves in the house. So he used to play a lot of reggae, a lot of high life, a lot of 90s pop, hip hop. My dad basically introduced me to music and made me fall in love with, like, the bass, because that's all we could hear through the walls when we were trying to go to bed at night. I think fashion-wise, me being blessed to be part of, like UK rave culture, I got to go to clubs and see people from all different walks of life, races, just enjoying themselves in a space where we had to respect each other's cultures. You know, I feel like the rave was the safe space, and seeing everybody dressed up in Moschino and Iceberg and all these crazy clothes you had to wear to get into raves, music and fashion became hand in hand for me. I love it so much because being Nigerian, seeing my uncles and my aunties getting dressed to go to christenings and stuff like that, and they all wear, like, all 5 aunties would have like the same material, same designs, but like different cuts for this auntie and that auntie. It was like repeated patterns and stuff like that. Like, it just, I don't know why, this music and fashion just always felt like one like one exists because of the other in sort of way. Yes, Esquire, my name is Skepta, and that was the people who inspire me. Thanks for listening, thanks for watching. Agrees.